Hello, this is Deliverable 2B, and you're here with Cadet Contreras, Cadet Wilfred Ahoua, and Cadet Taylor Gordon. So to start off, I'm going to start with the weather station analysis. So to get the stations, we use conditional formatting to detect whether or not some of these stations had enough data using our slope, which was the change in temperature over the change in time. And a lot of these weather stations did not have enough data, and they had a lack of data, so we were not able to use that to show the drastic slopes. So our first weather station was in Norway, and this had the most dramatic rise in temperature, and it was in the northern part of Norway, which borders Finland, and we also saw that this area was experiencing snow year-round. Secondly was Finland, which borders Sweden, and we saw that its first recording started in 1983. And even though there wasn't that much time, they had enough data for us to include it in one of our 5 major stations.
So our next station is in Russia. It's in the northern part of the country along the Caret Sea, and we saw that it experienced warmer weather even though it's in the Arctic Circle and it's extremely cold out there. Another station that we found was also in Russia, but it's more centered in the country, and due to the lack of major terrain, it experiences high winds and is very cold, but it's been warming up, and the earliest observation was seen in 1959. The last weather station that we thought was extremely important was in Greenland, and it's towards the eastern part of the country along the Norwegian Sea, and we saw that it's been very cold. However, it has been warming up, but due to the cold, it's fairly underdeveloped by human beings. This last chart shows us the weather stations and the recordings, which started in 1960. All the major ones that we found went from 1960 up until present. And as you can see here in the orange, we have Finland, which we saw extreme temperature change. However, we didn't have enough to really say that it was the most important of the radio stations, or the weather stations. But we saw Norway, which has extreme change, which is in the green. And not only does it have extreme change, but it also has a lot of data, which shows us a great rise in temperature over time. The last part of the project was to find an article, and this is on Caret, Norway, because we found that it was extremely important. The weird thing is that 20 years ago, the weather was on average warmer, but we can still see a rise in temperature overall throughout the last 40 years or so. And the article also talked about precipitation and how it's had erratic changes, and so due to that, it's hard to tell if there's going to be any long-term change. This is our sources. Thank you very much, and that was our presentation.